Uh, Hi, everyone. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Dr. Chapman.
Jasmine, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
You just froze on me.
I froze.
There you go.
Okay.
I got this tricky little tripod. How's everyone? I see
Okay.
people chiming in, getting in.
Yes, I see so many people. Hi,
Awesome.
everybody. Thank you for all the waves. Waving back. Oh, this is so exciting.
It is, right?
Wow. I'm
I
like,
guess this is the best we can do without being face to face.
I know. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, me
What a
too.
day.
Thanks for inviting me. I needed something casual and informal and intellectual to make it through the week, the rest of the week, that is.
Yes, yes, yes. Likewise. I definitely feel like once I get through my Wednesdays, my weeks are just like coasting. So this is a very
Uh-huh.
nice like way to kind of, you know, come off the gas a little bit and just
Mm-hmm.
get into all of these phenomenal topics that I know we have on our slate for today.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody who's joining. I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Jasmine Wilson, and I am honored to work for the AUC Art Collective as their graduate research assistant. And I am currently enrolled at Clark Atlanta University as a master's student in their African American Studies program. I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Rico Chapman, who is a professor of mine, also the director of the PhD program in Humanities at Clark Atlanta University, a professor at Clark Atlanta University, and associate dean in the School of Arts and Sciences. So, Dr. Chapman, how are you
Hey, hey,
today?
hey. Doing great. It's a beautiful day. Uh, just vibing, just loving life. It's a lot we're going through, so just trying to keep a smile on my face. Amidst many changes. So it's good. Staying positive.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Tell us about yourself. Can you give just like a brief overview of, where are you from? I know
Yep.
you from the South, okay?
Dirty
So
South, dirty South. Yeah,
let's
I'm
give
from
the people a little
Jackson, Mississippi.
info.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm from deep South Mississippi. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and you may hear some of my southern twang, and I may break some verbs, and you know how that goes. And it's all right because I like to lift up Southern dialect, Black Southern
Right.
dialect, so it's all right. No, but seriously, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. Born and raised there. I did my undergrad at Jackson State University in history. I taught there for a number of years. I did an MA in history also at Jackson State. I went on to do a PhD at Howard University, HU. You know
You
HU.
know.
I did a PhD in African Studies at HU, and I went back to teach at Jackson State in 2004, and I taught there for several years. Before coming to CAU, I was chair of the history department, and got to CAU in 2017. as the director of the Humanities PhD program and assistant dean of arts and sciences. So this is going on my fourth year. I'm now interim associate dean, still running the PhD program. We've done some amazing work. We have amazing students, and it's been good in the AUC. I collaborate a lot with Spelman, Morehouse, the AUC Woodruff Library. We put on amazing programs, events. We collaborate on research. So it's been a good run, and I'm looking forward to more. So I'm glad, I'm honored to be invited to this conversation. I miss y'all. I miss my Spelman people, my CAU people, my Morehouse people.
I
I
know.
love y'all. I miss seeing y'all for real. So that's kind of my background. My research interest is student activism, primarily. I wrote a book on student activism at Fort Hare. It's in South Africa. It was Mandela's alma mater that came out a few years ago. Let me plug it since we're on Instagram. This is my first time on Instagram Live,
Yes, please
so
do. Let
let
us know
me
where
do
we
some
can
plugging
find
here.
your work. Let's see those books.
And so this is my book right here.
Okay,
I was an
okay.
exchange student there. I was an exchange student there in the late 90s. And I came to that topic because of my master's work. I looked at student activism in Jackson, Mississippi. But when I was an exchange student as an undergrad in South Africa at Fort Hare, the students, they boycotted classes, they shut down the university. And as an exchange student, we were just stuck. We're like, okay, what's going on? And from that lens, I was able to see how students were motivated politically in South Africa. The celebrities are the political figures, at least back then in the late 90s. This is, apartheid ended in 94. I was there in 97. So Fort Hare was an institution where student activism was rife. There were protests, boycotts just about every year. And it just had this culture of resistance. So I wrote about that, and I kind of segued once I got to Jackson State. I did have some background in archival administration. I was a graduate assistant archivist.
Okay.
So I worked for the Margaret Walker Center under a mentor, Dr. Afratine Harrison. And that's how I got involved in public history. And once I started teaching at Jackson State, I was given the opportunity to direct a civil rights education center called COFO, the Fannie Hamer Institute at COFO. And the site was a historic site. It sat on a campus on historic John R. Lynch Street. And we had civil rights veterans to come through all of the time. We gave tours throughout the city. We had a few NEH Summer Institute grants that I directed, and we toured Mississippi, and we learned a lot and discussed and helped to, I guess, bring exposure to the Mississippi narrative, the civil rights Mississippi narrative. Often we hear about Alabama and other places, but we kind of highlighted Mississippi's civil rights history. So that was my work at Jackson State. And how I got into public history and museums. I served on the board of the Association of African American Museums. And that, as a historian and moving into public history, I always like to get outside with my students. I like to go to the museums, to the historic sites, to the historic districts, meet with artists, scholars, and really get a feel for history on the ground, local history, the people making history on the ground. And that's what brought me to, I guess, digital humanities. Now we'll talk about that later, but this public history, museums, activism, that kind of morphed into what I'm doing now. It's trying to cutting it short, but it's all connected. And as a director of a humanities PhD program, I try to bring those experiences to my work, and hence working with the AUC Art Collective, hence getting to know you through the Digital Humanities course, and now you're with the AUC Art Collective. And, you know, we've been vibing, we've talking about museums and other, in your work in art history. So it's just an honor. I've been blessed to have a good run through higher education. I've been in higher ed, I guess, about 17 years now. So it's been
Wow,
good. Yeah.
that is definitely something to celebrate on this day. And you mentioned a number of amazing experiences that you've had
Hmm.
in your journey, right? And I know that one of the things that's actually really unique to me is that you conducted a research project, right, in
Hmm.
Southwest Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I'm from Atlanta and I grew up in Southwest Atlanta.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the more so practical, on the ground, intellectual work that you have done at your time, given your
Hmm.
time at the AUC?
For sure. And it's all about collaboration with me. I take no full credit for anything I do.
Mm,
It's the people around me that help pull the project together. And you're speaking about the Cascade Oral History Project. You
I
can find,
am.
yeah,
Very
you can
much
find
so.
it at cascadecommunitytour.org.
Mm,
We partner with the City of Atlanta, and we partner with Asala Atlanta branch. Shout out to Dr. Candy Tate.
mm-hmm,
And we had graduate students at the time, Lenice Littleton, she's now a PhD, Dr. Littleton. We had Dr. Jamie Canty working on the project. Um, we had Edward Hightower, he's still a graduate student. And the graduate students, they did most of the interviewing, right? And they
okay.
were paid to interview residents of the Cascade community and talk about and gain from them how the neighborhood changed or is changing.
Okay.
And we used our relationship with the city of Atlanta and the community to develop a website through the AUC Woodruff. The Woodruff provided the digital tools, the computational tools to build the website. Shout out to Justin De La Cruz.
Yes.
Yeah, we in the second part of it was a year-long project.
Mm,
We conducted about 50 interviews in one summer. And after the interviews were collected, we did some transcribing, indexing, built the website. And the second part came through a digital humanities course that Dr. Tate and I team taught. And
okay.
that's where students learn some of the web building skills, some of the indexing skills. And those tools were delivered through AUC Woodruff's team. And the website is there, the interviews are there. You can go in, listen to the interviews. And this was my second year at CAU. And like I said, I just always look for ways to collaborate and get out into the community and
Right.
do some community building, public history. And when that opportunity came, oh, shout out to Leslie Kanan. She's now with the National Trust. She more or less spearheaded it before leaving, going to the National Trust. So all of these entities, the City of Atlanta, CAU, a Solid Atlanta branch,
Mhm.
AUC Woodruff Library, the City of Atlanta had a team of marketers. Even their public historic preservation division was involved. So uh, Dr. Tate and I, we participated in a sustaining digital humanities workshop at Georgia Tech, where we presented our work. And the objective of the workshop was really to lay out our project and look at the many parts, the many moving parts, and get like a helicopter view of it. And once we did that, we realized that we had about a team of close to 50 people working on the project, right? From
Wow.
those with the City of Atlanta, Sala Branch, CAU, the graduate students.
Mhm.
So digital humanities, public history, it's community work, it's team building, it's teamwork. It's just
Mhm.
not one individual. And
Mhm.
I think that's where scholarship is going and has been for a while.
Mhm.
And we've talked about it in our digital humanities course last semester. We read um, W.E.B. Du Bois's data portraits.
We sure did. And guess
So,
what I
so Du
brought with me
Bois,
too.
that's it.
Guess what I brought with me.
That's it. That's it. And it has
Yes.
charts, graphs, tables. Du Bois was doing this collaborative
Yes.
work in 1900, with
Mhm.
students, community,
Mhm.
faculty. It's always been about teamwork. And
Mhm.
it just takes more than one person. It's just, and I enjoy that, because I know I can't do it alone. I don't have the skills nor knowledge to do it alone. So just to be honest, yeah. So
Mhm.
that was that project, the Cascade Community Tour.org. You can check it out. It's
Okay.
still there, up and running. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So we have the Cascade Project. We also have our PhD program at Clark,
Yeah. Yeah.
PhD in Humanities.
Yes.
And
Um,
yes, let's just
no,
hear a
go
little
ahead. Go
bit
ahead.
more. Let's just hear a little bit more about how this program came to be and where it currently stands in terms of its offerings for graduate level research.
Okay.
And what are some of your own goals and missions for this year?
Okay. Good question. I appreciate that, Jasmine. Thanks for mentioning the PhD program. It started as a doctorate of arts and humanities program in the 80s, and then it converted into a PhD offering in 2015, around in the early 2010s, around there. I
Okay.
came in 2017, and the PhD humanities program is definitely interdisciplinary. We have concentrations in African American studies, Africana women's studies. Shout out to Dr. Stephanie Sears. Shout out to Dr.
Yes.
Daniel Black, Dr.
Yes.
Eric Duke, Dr. Charmaine Patterson. We have concentrations in history and concentrations in English. Shout out to
Mhm.
Dr. Bess Montgomery, Dr. Vineyard. So if you enter the PhD in Humanities program, you take 30 hours in the core humanities. Those courses range from literature and popular culture to research methods and research design. I teach those courses, digital humanities, the person in history and literature. So we have a nice, well-rounded core of courses in the humanities, and then you move into your concentration area, whether that be African American studies, African women's studies, history, etc. It's a 72 credit hour program. It's intensive, it's research intensive. Students are coming out with some groundbreaking work. One of our former students is doing great work at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, Dr. Jamie Canty. She looks at Black queer women's studies. Most recently, Dr. Lenise Littleton, she's a postdoc in public history and digital humanities at Clemson. She's doing great work there.
I've heard
It's,
about her work too. I know
yeah,
it. I believe she's doing something around like grave sites in South
yeah,
Carolina
exactly.
or
Mm-hmm.
African burial grounds, and
Burial grounds, right?
looking at their significance, which I think is definitely a topic that's understudied. Um,
Exactly.
so,
Dr. Ebony, she is at, where is Ebony? Tulane. She's in
mhm.
the English department at Tulane. So yeah, we want our students to leave the program as research scholars. Some may go into other fields, and that's fine. Yeah.
Mhm.
But who's that? Ebony Perro. Somebody just mentioned Ebony's last name. They say, you just said Ebony. Say her name, Dr. Ebony Perro. Yeah, Ebony Payroll, Dr. Ebony Payroll, she's at Tulane. But thank you, whoever said that. I appreciate that. Uh, just looking at the comments. But
Mhm.
yeah, we just want our students to come away as solid research scholars and be serious about the work. And though we need to have, we also need to be mindful that it's community, it's world building work too. It's serious work.
It sure is. It
It
sure
doesn't have to be sad, even though a huge part of our history has been traumatic, but it's so much more that
is.
has been very uplifting. If you look at before European invasion of Africa, the Songhai dynasty and those
Mhm.
dynasties that really contributed to the world. Oftentimes we just look at contemporary history and see African people in this light of through the white gaze, and we just see
Right.
ourselves as downtrodden. But we have a glorious history that we need to amplify, and sometimes that can come through seeing ourselves digitally. And I'm kind of getting to that theme.
Mhm.
Um, but it's important to study history and see how African people have come from these magnificent eras,
Mhm.
dynasties,
Yes.
to now. So
Yeah.
we'll know that, this is just a temporary thing.
Right. Right. Right.
This is just small, this little small piece of our history that we're just going through a little bump in the road. In the South, that's a
Absolutely.
little bump in the road. We'll get past this. But
Right. Right.
to understand what we're going through now, you
Mhm.
need to study the past, study the present, and use the Black imagination to build the future. So
We sure
yeah.
do. And I know that in our class in digital humanities, we had a
Mm,
number of conversations about what technology is, what
yeah.
digital humanities is, and where it stems from, where it stands within the long view genealogy of Africana meaning making, as well as tools and forms of engaging with the world, how we engage with each other, right?
Right.
And I have learned so much from you in terms of what it means to work in this digital space, in this digital
Hmm.
realm as scholars, and how Blackness circulates in those spaces. We read Ruha Benjamin's
Yeah.
uh,
Where is she?
Race After Technology, which I also have beside me.
Lift it up so that people can
Oh,
see.
yes, 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 yes. Ruha Benjamin.
She was
See
at
my
Planet Deep
little
South. I know we'll talk about
here,
that later. Yep.
who is doing fantastic work at
Hmm.
Princeton right now.
She's a
Um,
Spelman grad.
yes, she is. She is a
Yep. Here's
Spelman
another
grad.
one of her books, Captivating Technology.
Yes, yes, yes. So, as we're in this moment where all of us are using Zoom, we're
Hmm.
seeing images of Black people circulate all over the internet via memes
Hmm.
and Instagram and Twitter. How do you see digital humanities intersecting with the arts?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
what role do you think digital humanities can play, not only in terms of scholarship, but also in relationship to the work that art professionals have the opportunity to do through digital curation, constructing of exhibitions digitally, and just having access to some of those digital tools that we discussed in class? How do you see those
Right.
two worlds converge?
Well, you see it. The short answer, you see it converge through the work of Natrice Gaskins. You see it converge through the work of John Jennings.
Yes,
You
yes,
see
we
it
do.
converge through the work of Stacy Robertson. And I'm thinking about scholars in that world who do digital art making.
Mm.
And some are Afrofuturists, some are Pan-Africanists. And those scholars, many of them came to our Planet Deep South conference back in February. And I'll take a long route to the question, but digital humanities and art and world building at this age, I think is necessary. I'm toying around with a term slash theory. It's not mine. I guess it's been around for a minute. I'm writing this chapter on Africana digital humanities, and we've talked about this also. And the class help tease out some of those thoughts.
Yes. Yes.
And how we approach digital humanities may be a bit different. That's what I'm positing. As people of African descent, there's a spiritualness that needs to come with our digitalness, if that makes sense. I argue that Africana digital humanities doesn't have computational beginnings. Its
Absolutely.
origins
Absolutely not.
its origins lie,
Hmm.
in us,
Hmm.
kind of in the spirit realm.
Hmm.
And we don't see ourselves as the technology. We are the technology. I know John Jennings mentioned in one of his talks that during slavery, we were the technology. But now we fast forward, do we still see ourselves as a technology? I mean, we have electricity rolling through us. But what I'm arguing is that, some of the points that I make is that we have this ancestral communicative technology that may be through ritual, that may be through ancestral worship, that may be through ring shout, that may be through all of those elements that our ancestors used to get through and to get by and to get us to this point.
Right.
You don't see it in computation. You really don't. You look at it. You don't look at it as digital. You don't look at it as technology, but it is a technology. And I'm saying for us as an African people, that those are some of the indigenous technologies that are innate and that we bring to the digital humanities. The role of the griot, the storytelling, it's a technology. And how does that play out in the arts and what we do? It's a more immaterial way of looking at the digital humanities.
Right.
And I'm not taking away the computational part, because we do computation. We need computation. That's just a part of the digital humanities. But I don't want us to leave out the fact that there is some innate technology within that we bring to the digital that makes our digital humanities a bit different.
Right.
And you see it. You'll see it in our art form.
Mm-hmm.
Lately I've been vibing to Black is King.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me.
What? You
You
don't, I
been
mean,
vibing to Beyonce?
I don't supposed to. I'm just saying.
No, Dr. Chapman. It's your life. It's your life. You live it as you wish. I just didn't
Yeah.
know that you were a Beyonce fan.
Yeah. Definitely
That's
this
great.
Beyonce for sure. I mean,
Uh-huh.
so even so, if you look at some of Kenitra Brooks's work, The Lemonade Reader, she talks about how Beyonce uses some of those Africanisms, those visuals in
Right.
her work, and we have to begin to see the African retentions in our work, and you'll see it also in the art, you'll see it in the music, and you're seeing it more now. Black Panther was a huge success, and that just kind of spoke to what our people need and what we want. We want some Africanness. When we're on the plantation, if we show any Africanness, we might end up being lynched, some cut off.
Mhm.
Many plantations forbade the drum. You couldn't drum, you couldn't sing, chant, you couldn't be in groups. And that was our Africanness. That was our technology. So if you cut that technology off, then we got you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No,
So
really though,
yeah.
really. And I know that in one of my classes with Dr. Daniel Black at Clark,
Hmm.
especially reading his book, Becoming.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, that book
Shout out to Dr.
has
Black.
so many, yes, please shout out to Dr. Black. That book has so many allusions to African aesthetics, as you mentioned,
Yep.
how ritual and community are a part of our technology, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
people and as people of the African continent. And when you talk about how our technologies show up in these musical, contemporary music spaces,
Hmm.
as well as thinking even a little bit further back to the plantation, and one of my favorite just subjects that's always on my mind is African American women who were making quilts
Yeah,
and
exactly.
who were on these plantations, right? And they were not only making these quilts in their time, whatever time that they may have had, but they were using them as a tool and a technology to
Hmm.
literally inscribe our
Hmm.
path to freedom
Yep.
onto a visual map
Yep.
and doing subversion
Say that.
and putting them outside for our ancestors to see, to
Hmm.
know if a place was safe, to know where to
Hmm.
go, to know
Hmm.
some of, you know, the different paths that they needed to take, right? And that even goes back to one of our earlier conversations that we had about African symbols and symbology,
Yep.
specifically on HBCU campuses,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I'm just now thinking about and learning about, specifically in regards to the presence of Adinkra symbols
All
on Clark
throughout the
and Lotus
promenade, all
campus.
down the promenade. Yeah.
Someone told me
Adinka
that there's an
symbols.
ankh on the like there's like something like one of the main areas of campus is in the shape of an ankh,
Mm.
as well as I've even had testimonials from my own friends from Howard from undergrad who
Hmm.
told me a number of times that there are Adinkra symbols inscribed into those campuses. So
Hmm.
to your point about that more so computational side of technology and how we do have the right and opportunity to create from that medium, there is also a very long tradition of our own presentation and our own
Hmm.
technological communication and visual forms of mapping that have been not only inscribed through quilting, but also on our own bodies,
Right.
using our bodies to literally make music. Dr. Black talks about
Mm.
this in
Mm.
in one of our classes. I believe it was African Aesthetics last spring, where he mentioned, you know, the chains that we had on our bodies were used as a oral and sonic
Hmm.
form of communication. So
Mm.
literally carving our own and inscribing our own sounds into a space that was meant to destroy us.
Right.
So as you know, think in terms of how we show up in these technological spaces via the computational methodologies, as
Hmm.
well as some of the bodily gestures and bodily formations, how does that then present opportunity, or what opportunities are there for young or emerging scholars to, you know, think more so about those topics, but also
Hmm.
how they translate to digital humanities? Do
Hmm.
we have research, or is there a need for research that maybe employs both, where you use digital humanities tools while also thinking about the technologies that are less computational and maybe
Hmm.
marrying the two? What opportunities are there for us as thinkers and scholars to intervene in the conversation around Black digital humanities and in your work,
Hmm.
Africana digital humanities?
Hmm. Thank you for that question. Um, Awesome question. And I just want to start by saying I'm building off the work of others. It's so many young scholars that are doing this work and doing amazing work. Uh, I was at a conference maybe a year and a half ago at the University of Maryland, College Park. And the people I met there, the scholars doing the work that you're talking about, were amazing. One scholar in particular, Jessica Marie Johnson, she has an article, Markup Bodies, that talks about that exact position that you stated, but also her latest work, Wicked Flesh,
Wow.
Black Women, Intimacy, and the Freedom in the Atlantic World. She's a digital humanist, and she looks at slavery as well. The work of Andre Brock, Distributed
Yeah.
Blackness. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about him in our class, I think. But his book came out mid semester, so we
Uh,
didn't get a chance to invite him. African American Cyber Cultures,
mhm.
2020. Carlton McElwain, Black Software. So there are scholars doing this work, and we just have to see what's out there and get connected with those scholars. And it's just so interesting that, as we move into this digital space, you learn that we've always been in the digital space.
Mhm.
We've always been doing this work from the first, I'm talking about technology, from the first computer. And Black Software talks about how these Black software engineers were developing these blogs and building
Mhm.
computers, back in the 80s also, and using
Mhm.
that technology to highlight African history, African American history, Africana studies. So I think, firstly, for young scholars, get to know those who are doing the work.
Mhm.
Some of the names I just mentioned, Jessica Marie Johnson, Andre Brock, Carlton McElwain, Sophia Noble,
Sophia
Algorithms of
Noble,
Oppression. Yeah,
that's like
Algorithms of
anybody
Oppression.
who's thinking about algorithms, thinking about how algorithms are coded, thinking
Exactly.
about how Blackness is coded and very oppressive
And the
way.
discrimination embedded in the code. So
Yes,
she argues that, we think that, technology is neutral and it's objective, but no, somebody
absolutely,
develops the technology, somebody does the coding.
absolutely
So
not.
if you're coming with racist ideas, then that shows up in the code.
Hmm.
Why, and she used an example in that book, why, this was early 2000s, she typed in Black girls and pornography came up.
Right.
So somebody had to embed that into the code.
Hmm.
It just doesn't happen. New Digital Worlds by Rupika Rassam. That's an
Hmm.
amazing book, Post-Colonial Digital Humanities. And, for me, Africana Digital Humanities is post-colonial also. It's Pan-African also. It challenges those norms of DH that say that, whiteness is the thing. We have to get from under the white gaze and see ourselves through agency in our own right. And as we move and develop these new theories and sources and become familiar with our own approach to technology, it's important for us to get back, not get back, but important for us to acknowledge the history from which we stem.
Right.
And that's cross discipline. It's whatever discipline you're in, you need to know some basic history about yourself. So um, that's where I am with that. I appreciate that question. And for young scholars getting into digital humanities, we just shared a few books with you, but it's more out there.
Hmm.
Um, we are developing a Center for Africana Digital Humanities at CAU.
Yes, tell us more
It
about
was
that.
Yeah, it was to be launched in the spring. We're up and going in a way, but we want to have a formal launch in the
Okay.
spring. But of course, COVID-19 interrupted that. We have a pretty cool space in Sage Bacote room 203. We had class there.
We
Was
sure
it last semester?
did. We
We
sure
have
did.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a cool space. We have computers, we have a screen, we have a whiteboard. So we're ready to get to work. Unfortunately, we're not on campus, but
Mm.
we'll try to figure out how we can still do some stuff with the Center for Africana Digital Humanities virtually. And I like this setup too. One thing I did want to do was some digitalks in the space and bring in scholars and have some dialogue based around some of the topics we're talking about now. In the space now, we have John Jennings' exhibit up called Blues as Technology. And it fits the theme we're talking about, music as technology, blues as technology. So that's some of the work we're doing at CAU around Africana Digital Humanities. We had Yatasha Womack. She came down for Planet Deep South in February. Her work, where is it? I have a gang of books around me. Afrofuturism.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a classic
Yep, that's a
standard
classic.
mental text.
Um, so we're ready to get back and get back to work and build that center. Who else? And I'm kind of phasing into Planet Deep South because this
Hmm.
discussion kind of moves us in that direction. That conference was so powerful. We had Ruha Benjamin come down and do a keynote. We had Fox Harrell. He does gaming and virtual reality work at MIT. He came and did a keynote. Of course, John Jennings. Um, we partnered with Georgia Tech. Susanna Morris, she's doing great work there with the Crunk Feminist Collective. Of course, Andre Brock, he did a book talk. It was, and you saw the exhibit that Dr. Fluker
I did. I
he
did.
put up in the Woodruff, right? So
I
he
did.
more or less laid out a history of Afrofuturism, and he laid
Mm.
in some digital components as well. So that conference was amazing. Joycelyn Wilson did a talk. She has a digital humanities project around outcasts at Georgia Tech.
Yes,
It's dope.
as well as please I have to think of her name, but
Regina
to
Bradley.
Regina Bradley, yes, she's
Regina
all over
Bradley was
Outcast. I
there.
remember she was a
She
professor
talked
at
about her
Savannah
book.
State, and now she's at
Yeah,
Kennesaw State, and
she's at
she's been
Kennesaw.
doing work on Outcast as well. So
She came to Planet Deep South.
yes,
And each day we had a graduate session as well. And we had graduate students, of course, from CAU. We had graduate students from Kansas, one from Massachusetts. There was a brother from Massachusetts doing some work around UGK,
mm. Yeah,
Underground
that's
Kings.
fantastic. Where can I find him?
Oh, I'll have to send it to you. But he's doing the oral
Okay.
history around their work. So,
Well,
the work is contemporary. And what I like about the humanities program is that, it crosses disciplines. So we look at literature, history,
we sure do.
popular culture. We span the disciplines, the fields,
We
but
do.
yes, but yet we ground it in an African studies. In my opinion, we ground it in that Africana studies. So
Mhm.
it's cool. I enjoy being at CAU and I enjoy doing the work.
Okay,
Chronicling
so
Stankonia, yeah, just published.
yes, yes,
That
yes.
Regina's book, Chronicling Stankonia.
Cite Black women always. Give us our
Please.
credits. Um, so as we are coming up on, closer to our 1 o'clock deadline,
Ari, wow. Time flew
yeah, we
by.
have about 15 minutes left. Um, I did want to know, as one of our faculty members of the AUC Art Collective,
Hmm.
what would you say, or what opportunities would you say are available, or what do you envision for our students in the AUC at Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark, specifically those who are undergraduate,
Yeah.
to collaborate with the Africana Digital Humanities Center and to do some of this work maybe in the future through maybe another oral history project, or
Hmm.
maybe
Hmm.
something on campus, whenever we have the opportunity to get back to school, or what can we be doing now with our students in terms of digital humanities the AUC Art Collective and the arts more generally.
And I think this is the perfect start, exposure, exposing
I totally agree.
students to, what's available. Recently, I worked with a student through Emmeline Renz. She does GIS mapping on campus.
Yes.
And I worked with him on art in the AUC. He looked at various sculptures throughout the AUC. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I think they used a drone, but there was a mapping project.
Okay.
And through that project, the drone flew up, looked at the promenade, and saw that even the promenade, the bricks, not the Adinkra symbols that line the promenade, but on the ground, there are still some African designs that you
Wow.
really couldn't see if you just walk in a promenade. But
Wow.
from a bird's eye view, there are these African designs through the brick that you see on the promenade.
Dr.
So,
Chapman, can we have a moment for our ancestors, please?
ashe, ashe, ashe.
Because 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 how? Like how did they
Hey,
do that? Like how I mean just
make a way out of no way. See, look at my
architecturally,
shirt.
right? Right. Make
Make
a
a
way
way out
out
of
of
no
no
way.
way.
But
The architectural orientation to planning a blueprint for a
hmm
class
hmm
or
hmm
not for a class, excuse me, for a campus.
hmm
And knowing that you were going to inscribe Adinkra symbols in a space and
hmm
knowing that those symbols speak things over us, right?
Right,
That most of
right,
us are
right,
probably not even aware of.
right, right.
And
But just think
that's
if we were
so
aware,
profound.
just think if we were aware, if the
Mm-hmm.
majority of students were aware, and I'm sure a lot of them are,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and we're moving towards, I think, making a requirement for Africana Studies, at least
Yes.
for freshmen, juniors. But just imagine if the majority of, if not all of our students knew the Dinker symbols, knew the symbology, knew the semiotics. I mean, that would
Yes.
be so powerful, because as you walk down the promenade and you see uh, these symbols, it's going to challenge you to say, okay,
What's this?
I don't need to be late for class because my ancestors,
Right.
I got to do
Right.
this for
Right.
them.
Right.
I got to, really do what I'm supposed to be doing. Not
Yes.
just that, but it just goes back to knowing your history and being proud of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and being able to use the history as a tool. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not just knowing the history and that's it. It's a tool for us to do some world building in advance. So going back to the Center for Africana Digital Humanities, yeah, I'm anxious to just collaborate with students uh, like you and others who want to do some work around digital humanities and public history. And let's do it.
Let's do it, Dr.
Let's do it.
Chapman.
What I mean, we're in Atlanta. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's
And
do
and
it.
I want to thank Dr. Finley for this opportunity. I want to thank Lauren. I want to
Yes.
thank all the entire team in the AUC Art Collective
Yes.
because you really have spearheaded collaboration now in the
Mm.
AUC, and that's what it's all about. We can't be so disconnected as we were. CAU, Spelman, and Morehouse, we share the same space. Many people,
Mhm.
don't know that. Those who are not in Atlanta or who've never visited the AUC don't realize that we're on the same campus really. We share a library, the AUC library, AUC Woodruff Library. So collaboration we must do. We must do it. CAU serves as the university, where Spelman and Morehouse are the colleges. So we are the graduate program. We have the
We are.
graduate programs.
We are the big brother, the big
Yeah, right.
sister.
So I'm all about it. I love collaborating with students in faculty, and there are opportunities. There's so many untapped sources, resources, primary sources in the AUC
Yes.
Woodruff that we can explore.
Yeah.
Garvey papers are there, Du Bois papers are there, the Walter Rodney collection is there. I mean,
Mhm.
we can go on and on. So
It sounds like
It's
you're trying to speak a topic over me.
you know it.
I've been thinking about I think about HBCU art collections.
Uh-huh.
And I am about to finally sit with To Conserve a Legacy, which was a very important exhibition that took place, I believe, in 2000 or the early 2000s, that allowed different students from the AUC to participate in a conservation program,
Mm-hmm.
and also students from other HBCUs to learn more about art conservation, and was more of a joint project where students were able to participate in the program, and then select HBCU art collections were able to actually have some of their works conserved and then presented in an exhibition in different museums nationally. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about HBCU art collections. I'm definitely very much thinking about these African and Adinkra symbols on campus. So thank you so much for
Let's make it happen.
just energizing all of my master's thesis ideas.
I
um,
got you. Oh, let
yeah.
me shout out Dr. Marita Poole at CAU Art Museum.
Yes. We give thanks to Dr. Finley, Lauren Harris, Rachel Brown, as well as all of the faculty and staff who are part of the AUC Art Collective, Dr. Marita Poole, Dr. Brownlee.
Oh, she's
Dr.
leaving us.
Brownlee,
We're gonna
who
miss her.
we're going to miss. And oh, there's so many names to
It is
mention,
too
but
many names to mention.
all of our AUC Art Collective team and community, we just give thanks for allowing us this platform today and facilitating this conversation. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
to everybody who came.
Thank you. Thank
Everyone
you.
who's
Thanks for chiming
here.
in.
Thank you for waving at us and commenting and asking for books. We are definitely going to try to get a list out to everyone very soon. And Dr. Chapman, where can we find you? Where are you? Who are you on Instagram, on Twitter? How can we keep up
You know,
with
I had to
you?
develop my first Instagram like a few days ago to be Digital Humanities, right? But no,
Yes.
I'm on Twitter at HBCU Prof
Okay.
and Instagram HBCU Prof.
Okay, great.
HBCU Prof. That's me.
Fantastic.
Y'all follow me. I'll put up some
Yes.
stuff.
And how about we just do a quick rundown of the books while people are here? So
Okay.
we have Race After Technology by
Yep.
Ruha Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic cover. One of
Yep.
the best books that I read. One of my favorite books that I read in our class. Not the best. We
Distributed
also
Blackness
have
by Ruha Benjamin.
Distributing Blackness, yes, by Ruha Benjamin. So we have
Yep.
the first one, Ruha Benjamin, Race After Technology. We also have Du Bois's Data Portraits.
Yep. Give us the authors.
We have
Whitney Battle Batiste and Britt Roussert.
and
Those
Britt
are the
Roussert.
authors.
Yes.
Visualizing Black America. Yep.
Go ahead and get your screenshots.
Distributed Blackness, African American Cyber Cultures,
Mm-hmm.
Andre Brock.
And we have Rupika Rassam's New Digital Worlds, Post-Colonial Digital Humanities, and Theory, Praxis, and Pedagogy.
Yep. Black Software, Carlton McElwine. The Internet, Racial Justice, from the AfroNet to Black Lives Matter.
Yes, we do. And then the last one, do you have Sophia Noble's?
Yeah, I have it. Let's see.
All right.
Algorithms of Oppression.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, how search engines reinforce racism.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Dr. Chapman, I'll be seeing you.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you for coming and speaking with me today. And thank you for everyone who joined us.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's been a great morning. Afternoon, whatever it is. It's been good. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day.
Peace.
Peace.